Today I'm going to make gorgeous art with scraps of painted papers I've created over the years. I've got piles, and I'll show you how easy it is to make use of them. So, if you've ever asked what to do with all your scraps, this one's for you. I'm Jackie Bernardi, and welcome to my studio. Scraps. If you are a collage artist or an artist who likes to paint papers like I do, you'll find that over time you will develop massive amounts of scraps. Now, I know some of you will just throw those away, and that's okay. But I keep a lot of my scraps, and I love going through them for inspiration, to remind me of pieces that I did in the past that excited me, and so on. But every once in a while, the buildup gets to be too much, and I always start thinking about what I could do to get rid of some of the scraps, but use them in my artwork. Well, one of the members of my community, her name is Bonnie, she made a post earlier this week with a project that she did with scraps that was so genius. I fell in love with it instantly and was kicking myself for not figuring out to do this beforehand. So thank you, Bonnie. Your post actually inspired this post on YouTube today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scraps and I am going to make a functional collage with them, and you'll see what that means in a moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this gummed craft paper tape that I have. Now, in Bonnie's post in the community, she actually used the water soluble version of this. You get it wet and it activates the glue on the back of the tape. This is not that. This is gummed tape. And I prefer working with this. I do have the water tape. I just don't love working with it. No shade to Bonnie. It worked for her. I just don't enjoy using it. So I'm using this 3-inch width gummed tape. And what I did was I just cut a length of it, and I'm going to tape down the edges of this so it doesn't move anywhere. The sticky part is facing up, right? And so the craft paper side is on the other side. I just wanted to be clear so you would know exactly what I'm doing. Now, because it's pretty much all I can fit on camera here, I'm just going to use 3 strips. But I'm going to tell you right now, this project is so fantastic that you're going to want to do a lot of these strips if you take this on, honestly. It's so fun and relaxing. Now, as I'm taping them down, I'm thinking ahead a bit to how I think I want to use them. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm not being very careful about taping the edges, because when this is all said and done, I am going to cut off the taped edges. That it's not going to be part of the collage. So I'm not going to worry about it. Now, here's a pro tip for dealing with gummed tape, or any tape really. Take the cut edge, the final edge of your tape, fold it over on itself. That way, when you close up the roll of tape, you will always be able to untape the tape. You know how awful it is when you can't get a good grip on the edge of a piece of tape and it takes you forever. This is just a way to avoid that. I know it's obvious, but not everybody thinks to do that, so I thought I'd share it. Now, in this collage, I'm going to be using some matte medium, and I really don't have any matte medium left in this jar, so little, in fact, that I'm going to put it to the side and maybe save it for the end. So today, the collaging will be done with gloss medium, and if you've been here before, you know that I don't necessarily love gloss medium for regular collage, but I'm going to use it today because I am almost out of that matte medium. All right. So here's how it goes. You're just going to grab strips of your scraps. You can use a whole scrap, you can tear up your scrap, whatever you want to do. But we're going to put them down on the gummed side of the tape. Now, since I have 3 strips here, what I'm choosing to do, you can do this any way that you like, but what I'm choosing to do is I want the 3 strips to be cohesive, meaning I want largely the same scraps on each strip, but not in the same locations. What I'm trying to do here is create sisters, not twins, or actually triplets in this case, right? So for every piece of scrap that I put down, or almost every, I am going to try to get that scrap onto all three strips in some way, shape, or form. Now, here's what I'm not doing. I'm not worrying about what the torn pieces of scrap looks like. Oh, this piece I remember. I love it when you see one that actually jogs your memory and the project that you worked on it. That's part of the fun of doing this. It really, you get to revisit everything you've done in the past. But anyway, I'm not being overly concerned about the shapes of the scraps as I put them down. I want different sizes, I want different shapes, and I don't want to think about this very much. In fact, I'm not really thinking that hard about anything I'm doing right now. I'm actually listening to some really, really good music that I had never heard before, and it has me out of my head creatively. And this is important. Not only is this a fun project to do, and that will give you really gorgeous mini collages to work with going forward, but it also allows you to detach from any stress you might feel around creating. We all have the days where we're not sure what to make, or we start making something and we hate it, or nothing's turning out. That can really wear on your psyche. And this is a great exercise to do to get you out of your head, to break you from that downward spiral that we've all gone down about our creativity. And it allows you just to enjoy and relax in a process, okay? So some of these scraps I'm going to save for later. Some of these scraps I won't use at all. The truth is this is a tiny portion of all the scraps I have in my world, but it's a good variety of different colors, different textures, different feels. And pretty much going for like a patchwork feel here. I should also mention that I am using scraps from many, many different types of paper. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I've got newsprint here, I've got copy paper, I've got mineral paper, stone paper, I've got watercolor paper. I've got the entire gamut pretty much of everything that I have in my studio. So a moment ago, I said that I wasn't being too careful about things. There is one thing that I'm being careful about as I'm putting these papers down. I am saving the transparent papers, or papers that I know will go transparent. I'm saving those for a little bit later. Right now, the papers that I am putting down on the gummed side of these strips are solid papers. I mean, they may not be completely covered with paint, but it's solid. They're not meant to be transparent. And there's a reason for that. As I'm putting these down, they're being held onto the tape just by the gummed tape, right? I'm not using any medium yet. I will not be using any medium for a bit. Once I get to the point where I want to use some of the transparent or translucent papers, and I will show you this, those I'm going to have to put down with medium, because medium is part of the process that makes them transparent. And the reason why I don't want to put transparent papers down yet is because I really don't want the craft paper look on this side of the strip to show through. So if I put down the transparent papers now, you would see through them, or at least they'd be occluded a bit, and that craft paper look would come through. And it feels like the papers that I'm picking today are all pretty bright. So I don't really want to deaden those right now with the craft paper look. That's why I am staying away from the transparent papers for a moment. Now this right here is very exciting because this is actually an acrylic skin. So this is just dried paint that came off of probably my gel plate, and I was able to pull it off in a big scrap. So this is just acrylic paint, no paper. It's just dried acrylic paint that I'm putting down. And what you're seeing here is I am using a little bit of medium. This is how I'm going to be using medium for right now. If a piece of paint or paper crosses over another piece of paper that is already down, I will put a little medium on there, right? So it will still stick to the gummed side. I'm putting the medium down on the other piece of paper so that the paper that crosses over it on top will stick to that paper. All right, does that make sense? I'll show you more of that later. You'll be able to see it better, but I just wanted to make sure that you understood what I was doing here. Now this green paper, I don't really recall what this was from, but it's so pretty. It's like that really great jewel tone, and I love what it's doing on each particular strip. Okay, so here is a piece of paper that will go translucent, not exactly transparent. And I put it down there because it's already over two other pieces of scraps, right? It's not down on the gummed craft paper. It's actually going over two other pieces, and it gives a nice look. And again, you'll see much more of that later. This here is a sheet of music that I've had in my stash for a long time. And uh, there's no paint on it. It was surrounding, I guess, a piece that I used in a collage. And so these are just the notes. And I know that my collage aesthetic loves having text. And in this way, I'm considering the musical scores to be text. And I love that element. So I enjoy putting it on here. I hope what you're experiencing with this right now is that this is very freewheeling. You don't have to overanalyze what you're going to do next, what you're going to put where, or how it's all going to look in the end. Because in the end, we're going to manipulate these in many different ways. And the way we're going to manipulate them has nothing to do with how we created the collage, right? I hope you can hang with me and trust me on this. But like the stacked papers video that I did last summer, and I will link to that in the description, like that video, this is so easy that you simply cannot fail in doing it. And you will be stunned by how gorgeous the results are, even though right now it may look chaotic to you, right? This is as much a practice of faith as it is in executing a collage, right? So hang with me, please, because this will give you new ways to think about your creativity and what you can do with what you have on hand. It's not always about creating something brand new. Our creativity should allow for us to be able to use old things and really enjoy them, like I clearly am now. So as I dig through this, this this piece of paper here that I'm tearing up, this was a gel print that I pulled. Oh gosh, I think it's one of the videos that's actually in the gel plate video course. If you don't know, I have a free gel plate video course, and that can be found inside my free resources community, the community that I mentioned at the beginning that Bonnie's a member of. And the gel plate video guide is completely free. It's a comprehensive guide on how to use your plate when you first get it. It may give you new ideas and may answer a lot of questions that you have about using a gel plate, and it is 100% free. So if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and click the link in the description below or in the comments below, and you can sign up for free and get your hands on that gel plate guide. But anyway, that piece of paper actually came from that video. That was one of the prints that I created in there. And that blend of the teal and the sort of fluorescent yellow-green is like catnip for me. I love that color combination. And it's working out very, very well inside of this collage. Now, you just saw me dancing there. The truth is this music is so good. I am actually going to link to it. It's a YouTube channel, and another member of my community sent me this video, and he said, "You're going to love this. It's meditative, it's exciting, and all that." And so I listened to it for the very first time while I was creating these strips, and I danced almost the entire time in the collage. Not well, necessarily, but I was dancing, and it makes me happy, just like creating makes me happy. As the papers are building up, there's becoming less and less real estate that is the gummed craft paper. You can see there's still a few little areas where on each strip where I still need to cover it with scraps. But what I am trying to do is I'm trying to get there. And so for some of these little gaps, they're quite small. And so it's requiring me to tear smaller pieces of the papers. This is a really, really great dexterity exercise and a skill set that as a collage artist, it would behoove you to practice, because that is collage. I mean, how you manipulate the paper as you tear it or cut it has an impact on how the final collage will look. Now, where we're having fun today and we're just slapping down pieces of papers, that's all great and it's very, very fun. But there are some spots that I just want to finesse a little bit more to make sure that all of the craft paper is covered. This piece that I'm putting down now, this is what I would consider like a power piece, right? On this particular strip of collaged scrap, that is really going to stand out. And I really wasn't kidding about the combination of teal, well, really teal and everything. I absolutely love it. And it shows up in my work a lot. But what that piece was is I have a hole punch that is called a confetti hole punch. And I'll list it in the supplies below, even though you don't really see me use it, but you may want it after you see me use it. And this yellow piece also that I'm putting down now was created by using that confetti punch on a piece of painted paper. And I used the dots that came out, or the confetti pieces, I used those in other collages, but I still had this gorgeous framework of painted paper that was what was left from after punching it. And what I like about laying it down over all these scraps of collage is that it's creating a peek through opportunity. So when you're looking down on the collage, you can actually see down to the painted papers or the painted scraps that are below. I'm adding some black and white papers now. I'm really upset that I don't have more black and white scraps to use in here, which tells me that the next time I paint papers, I should probably very intentionally do some black and white. The reason for that is because as I'm adding in the black and white little bits, they're creating that gorgeous contrast that is actually starting to pull together each strip on its own and making it visually much more exciting. Maybe I'll do that very soon. If you think you would like to see me do a video on painting black and white papers, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll see if I can do something with that soon. I am loving what is happening as I add in these little touches of black and white. Like this piece here. This piece I think is stunning. In fact, it was hard for me to tear up the scrap, but again, I don't want to be melancholy about any of these scraps. They need to get used because at some point, if I don't use them, they're going to have to go someplace else. And that would be a shame. So you can see I am using medium now, and I'm using medium much more than I was before because now almost all of the craft paper is covered. So there's nothing for these scraps to stick to unless I use the medium, okay? So I'm not using a lot of medium. I'm using a very thin layer put down by the brush, and then I, stick the piece of scrap paper to it and then go over the top of it with the brush again. That way you're double coating the papers with the medium. They will stick, they will stay stuck, and you'll be able to continue on with the collage as you wish. These would actually make, if you cut these down, these would actually make really great bookmarks, right? This could be a fantastic project for you to do with your kids or your grandkids for gifts, like holiday gifts or birthday gifts or whatever for the readers in their lives. Um, I think that by the time this is all done, we're going to see some interesting ways to use it, but that could be a way that I can see right now would be so cool. This here is a napkin. It's actually a tissue napkin, and on one side of it, it's a beautiful print of a peony, and got it's 2-ply, right? So I want to collage this on top of one of these strips, but I wanted to remove this second layer because if you remove that back layer, it's just a piece of white tissue. If you remove that, when you glue down the piece that you want, it will glue down fairly transparent, right? So you'll still get a sense of the papers or the scraps that are below it, but it will meld into the strip in a really beautiful way. And I love peonies, so or peonies, however you pronounce it. Uh, so I want to put it down and have it work with this very, very abstract strip of collaged scraps. So this is, aside from the musical notes, this is the only realism that's in this collage. But because I'm only using a tiny, tiny bit of it, and as you can see here, it is blending right on in with the collage pieces below it. And because I used matte medium, that made the tissue wet, so it was really easy to tear away the unused edge. You're probably noticing that there's a lot of papers that are going over the edges of the strips. And for the moment, I'm just fine with that. I don't want to have to worry about perfectly lining up scraps to the edges. I'm fine with it going over. I can clean that up later. So if you're doing this project, don't worry about going over the edges. It's so easy to fix, and I'd much rather have you involved with the process and enjoying it than worrying about having it be perfect. It's going to be perfect. All right, I need to clean this up a little bit. I'm starting to get a little crazy with all the insanity of the scraps. And I want to take a look at what I have right now. It's looking pretty good to me. There's some pieces that the edges of the paper are not sealed down by medium. So I want to go back in and make sure that everything is actually sealed. I also want to make sure that every bit of craft paper is covered, and it is. So I'm real happy about that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put down medium over the entire top of the collage because I feel like I'm at a good stopping point for this side of the strip, right? So I want to go in, I want to make sure that all the papers are securely glued down with the medium and then also covered with the medium on top so that it's like a collage sandwich, medium, collage, medium. Or in this case, it was gummed tape, collage papers, medium, collage papers over medium, right? So I just want to make sure that everything is properly sealed so that we don't have little pieces of paper curling up later. that wouldn't be a catastrophe. It's just not the aesthetic that I am going for here. I am so happy with these ridiculous little strips. I really am. All right, I think with that, it's time to let this dry before I continue on. I've got it well coated with medium. I'm going to let it dry for a few hours and then come back and see what I would like to do. All right, everything is nice and dry now. I'm going to peel all these strips up off the table, pull the tape right up, and take a look and see what I have. The edges definitely need to be dealt with, but before I get to that, before I work with the edges, I think I'm going to do something on the back side of the tape. So the back side of these strips, that's just craft paper. It's not gummed because the gum is actually on the other side. This is just plain craft paper, totally paintable, and an excellent opportunity for you to get more out of what you have. So what I'm going to do on the back side of these strips is I'm going to paint them. And I may do some mark making on them, but for sure I want to get paint on the back side. The reason to do that is, one, it's another opportunity to practice painting papers. Two, it's a great way for you to create contrast between what's on the front side and what's on the back side. So let's say you use part of the front side as in a collage. If you have painted the back side with colors that were included in that collage and it's just a flat color, or even if there's marks on it, it creates a contrast to what's on the front. So I think that's where I'm going to go with this today. We'll see. So I've just put down some Payne's Gray. These are all fluid acrylics I'm using. Payne's Gray, titanium white, Titan buff, cadmium yellow, and fluorescent pink. All of those are golden colors. I'll link to all of them in the supply list underneath the video in the description box. And I'm using a silicone paint shaper to mix the paint over on the gel plate. The gel plate is only being used as a palette today. I don't know if I said that earlier, but I just want you to know I'm not doing any printing. Well, I'm not intentionally doing any printing yet, but it's just a palette for now. And I'm just kind of laying down this bluish color sporadically and then going over it with a lighter version of that same blue color. And what this does is it creates the appearance of instant texture, as if it's a plaster wall or something. And it's not actually textured. It's all completely smooth and will be completely smooth at the end. But it just gives a nice, I don't know, I love that look. And so I'm just going to go over and spread it out and make sure that the craft paper is covered. Now, if I didn't cover all the craft paper, that would be just fine, but I want to cover it. So that's why I'm going back in with lighter and lighter shades of the blue and just getting kind of that, just juicy texture going. And I think on each strip, I'm going to do slightly different coloring. So on this next strip, I don't want to use the blue again. I think I want to move into the yellows and maybe create something with the fluorescent pink for this strip. Now, mind you, because the strips are turned over, I don't really recall exactly what the collages look like underneath, but I know that all of these colors that I'm using on the back side were used in pieces of the collage that you saw on the front side. So I don't want to do everything exactly the same. So instead of doing a textured look like that top strip, this time I'm going in with some stripes. And I don't know if I love it. I don't really care if I don't love it, because the truth is for all purposes right now, this is literally just the backside of the collage. And when I use this later, I may use it as the front side of something, but I just want to say that if you don't love what you do on the back side of a piece of paper that you're painting, it's really no big deal because you don't have to use that side. The stripes, I've got to be honest, I'm not exactly sure why I went with stripes, and I don't know if I'm going to keep it this way. It is, it doesn't feel like me, and it doesn't feel, I don't know, it actually feels too contrived for me. So we'll see what I do with it. But again, I'm not upset that I did it, right? Because it's just another opportunity to paint. I'm just saying that I'm not loving the way that that's looking at the moment. I'll have to find a way to modify that. So here I took some of the titanium white, a lot of the titanium white, and I mixed it with that mix of the fluorescent pink and the cadmium yellow. And it's creating a really light peach color. And I kind of like what I'm seeing with the craft paper underneath as a texture element. And that's coming up because I'm using the Catalyst wedge to spread that paint really thin over the craft paper. And that's why it's got that textury look without actually using two colors. Pretty cool. I said I wasn't going to be gel printing today, but there's so much paint on the gel plate right now. I've got to get it off somehow, and I might as well pull it. That's a piece of newsprint that I'm using. And I'm laying it back, right back down on the plate, wet on wet. And it's really just to get majority of the paint off the plate. Oof, that's pretty. Oh yeah, that's so pretty. I'm going to actually do something with it. So using the Catalyst wedge while it's all still wet, I'm just blending, not completely blending, but kind of skip blending using the Catalyst wedge to move the paint around. And at the very least, that is a paper that I can use in something else later. Or it could go in the scrap pile as a reminiscent piece of paper from today's activities. But I love this so much. And that's what I would call a happy accident, right? I had no intention to pull a print and have a print be that pretty, but I'm happy about it. So here is some Payne's Gray and also some Liquitex Mars Black. And I wanted to go with a really, really dark color here, but not just black, just like a bluish black. And I'm actually going to use a foamy stamp here. And this is a, I really hope I can find the source for this, but it's a script type font stamp. And I love using this stamp for making marks. So right now it kind of looks like script, and I don't necessarily want it to look like script, so I'm going to just turn the stamp halfway around and go over what was already there, and then it looks like marks as opposed to a script font. And as I went down the strip, I used a lighter and lighter hand so that there were some markings on the blue that was there, but it didn't completely cover it. Again, this is another foamy stamp, completely different style. And I'm just putting marks down. Again, I don't know if this side of these strips will ever see the light of day, but I'm just giving them some character for now. I still haven't really decided what to do about that striped middle one, but I don't love it. Skinny Brayer to the rescue. So this is my Skinny Brayer, and I love this thing. It's so narrow and it just creates these really cool marks. And as you can see, when I pick up the paint off the gel plate, I'm not trying to get tons of paint on it. I just want to get enough to create some marks. And I think I'm happier now that I've put these marks down over the stripes. It makes it look less horizontal or vertical stripy in this case. I don't know. I much prefer this now than what was there before I went over it with the Skinny Brayer. I'm going to let these dry for a couple hours again because I'm inspired to do one particular thing with these today, and I definitely want them to be dry before I do it. So it is later, it's after dinner now, and everything is nice and dry. I'm peeling these strips right off. Some of the edges got, kind of stuck down onto the paper underneath because of the medium or the paint that went over it. That's just fine because we're going to clean up these strips anyway, right? So you can see the edges are kind of rough, and I'm just going to take a pair of shears and cut off well, first I'm going to cut off the taped ends because we don't need those. I'm not going to use the taped ends in anything. So I'll remove those. And then I'm going to go in and I'm just going to go right up the sides of each strip and cut off all of the paper that's hanging off the edges. Now you don't have to do that, right? I'm doing it for a very specific reason, and you'll see that reason in a minute. But I want nice, clean edges for these strips. And it's easier for me to see where the true edge of the tape is by flipping it over to the other side. The side with all the collage on it is kind of busy, and it's a little bit hard to see where the edge of the tape is. So flipping it over, it's just easier to see for me. And I'm going to do this with all 3 strips off camera. And then you'll get to see all of them just completely clean and ready for the next step. Oh, this is wild. I mean, I don't know how you're feeling about these, but I love these. And I see so much potential for use. But what I'm going to use it with is my brand new jumbo square punch. Now, it says it's a 3-inch punch. It's not actually 3 inches. It's 3 inches corner to corner for each square that it will make. But if you were to square it, it's like 2 and some odd inches each side. But I'm just putting it in and punching. And the reason why I went through and made sure that all the edges were trimmed is so that I could get an even pattern when punching through. So as I pull it back into the punch, it goes up to the back side of the punch so that every square that gets punched out, the bottom is all even. Everything's even, right? And if I want to change that around, I can. But for now, I just wanted to get nice, even edging all the way around, both sides. Love that. And then inside the punch, there's a little slide door on the bottom. All the squares that I just punched were punched out. I'm going to put those to the side. I'm going to do the same thing for all of these strips. I'm just going to get a whole bunch of frames. That's what I'm going to call the cutout, or not the punched pieces, but the frame that's left. So whatever. Anyway, I'm just going to go through and punch those. When I see these back sides, I like the marks on them. They appear to be a little bit busy for me. I mean, maybe I should have just kept the back sides more solid. Whatever, I'm not going to be upset about it. But I've gone through and I've punched all 3 strips at this point. Now I'm going to show you some of the things that you can do. And like I said before, if you want me to do a video with all sorts of ways to use these scrap collages, let me know in the comments because I will super gladly create a video for that. So this is what they look on both sides, the frames, and they may be used for something, maybe not, I don't know. And now the glory moment. I'm going to start setting up these little squares in a grid format. And I think the way that I'm going to do it is actually organize it by the color of the backing. That way I make sure that if I randomize the color of the backing, then I make sure that the front side isn't like 3 pieces all cut from the same strip and in a row, because I don't want that. I want this grid to be representative of all the papers that went onto the strips. Isn't this looking cool? And you wouldn't necessarily have guessed that it would have looked like this as we were making the strips, but these are like mini pieces of art. And you could take any one of these and blow them up and make something really spectacular. So this is how you use scraps. This is a great way to use the scraps in your artwork and have a really satisfying finish. Now again, thank you, Bonnie, for inspiring me with your post to do this. And if you want to be inspired and see ideas like this all the time, you've really got to join my free resources community. It's fantastic. There are thousands of members and they post the most incredible pieces of art, things that you would want to make and can. So thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You'll get notified when I have upcoming videos. Have a great week.